Be working with Castor on some grooming. So this is gonna be his, maybe not first, but one of the first grooming sessions that I've done with him without protective contact. So I'm just gonna speed through it real quick because I think you guys get the idea. But I wanted to show nearly the end goal of the grooming. And we're not between fences or anything anymore. I just have the block just in case, like to work with his legs and stuff, but really there's not much protection there, but it's just kind of like a little bit of a barrier between me and him, but he's doing great. I can really do a lot more brushing in between feeding. So I just go ahead and go through like his hair, and I can brush his tail a little bit and he's cool with that. And I use the curry comb, and then I can use the other brushes, and I can pull his tail and mess with that. So he's looking really, really good. Like, really, the next step is going to be building duration with the block, and then no block, and then I could do whatever I want with him and probably do some tying and add that in too. But he's just progressed so fast with that. It looks awesome. So I'm going to work with his feet a little bit. He's also doing really well with that, and he can actually pick up his foot on cue and then hold it up for a second and bend at the knee. So you saw a little bit of that in one of the previous videos, but he was just like holding it up for a second. Now he's got a little bit more bend to it, and he's holding it up a little bit longer. And really, from there, I'm just going to build duration. So hold it up for 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds. And I probably will go all the way to 10, 15 before I start adding in like the hoof pick or my hand slapping his foot and the rasp and all that kind of stuff. So that's kind of the process. And then I start moving the hoof around, and I'll do that a little bit like early on here, not in the same session, but I'll start doing that early on. So he's just kind of a little confused. I'm just going to keep asking with my same cue. I just kind of squeeze his chest on a little bit. So I'm just going to give him a break. He's not doing the behavior that he just did. So I'm just going to give him like a 3 second break, and I'm going to ask again. And there we go. Oh, well, kind of. So he was good, and then he decided to paw a little bit. So, okay, same thing there. I'm just not going to reward any of that. I'm just going to not give it any attention. He's not going to get a reinforcer for that. And we'll just ask again. And there, he brought it up and didn't slam it down. So I'm just going to reward just a little bit less than I had been rewarding, because he must be confused, or he might be a little like unbalanced, like he might be standing on his legs wrong. So I'm just going to go back a little bit. There we go. So now I have the hoof lift again, but without that like pushing down, that stomping down. So but I will do a little bit of like pulling the foot forward and kind of holding the leg out to the side and stuff like that. I start doing that pretty soon here too, because I want him to get ready for barrier stuff. And it's once I'm starting picking up the feet and he's got that part down, then I can move on to just moving the feet in other positions. So that was a really good time. He actually held it up for a couple seconds there. So really, I had to go back for a second. A lot of people don't want to go back. They're like, well, we've been doing this. But I went back for a second. We did a couple tries of that, and now I'm back at longer duration than I had when I started the lesson. So that's a good explanation of that. Is it's just you don't have to go back forever. It's just to show your horse the right answer. And I could have just struggled with trying to do what I had been doing. There, that was beautiful. I had a couple seconds there. He's got his head down. He was nice and soft. He didn't pull his hoof out of my hand. Beautiful. So give him a couple treats for that. But I thought that showed that really nicely, that it's not a big deal to go back a second. It's not a big deal. And sometimes it might not be that fast either. It might take you longer. You might have to go back for days or weeks, but it's worth it in the end when you get the behaviors you want and you get a relaxed horse and you get that consistency. So I haven't found a better way to do it than that. So I'll let him hang out here. He had quite a few treats after those a couple of times of really good hoof lifts. Just ask him to back up away from me for a second. He really has a tendency of wanting to be super close, so we have to work on that as well. I don't want him on top of me all the time. I want him to have a little bit of personal space. But I'm going to work on that hind leg. So I haven't been picking up the hind legs yet. We're still working on doing a lot of touching. I've got my mounting block here, just kind of a little bit extra space so I'm not right next to him. And lots of petting on the inside and outside of his hind leg and just getting ready to start picking it up. I want him super comfortable with me being back there first, with him feeling my hand and all that beforehand. So just asked him to step over a little bit with his hindquarters. I kind of changed it up a little bit. He knows how to do the hand target and follow that really well. So I want to mix it up and ask him to move away with my hand like pressing on his hip, and he did beautiful with that. So same thing here. I'm just going to show that he can be groomed on both sides, but I'm just going to go through it real quick and fast forward because you've already seen what the grooming looks like, but just kind of get the idea of where he's at right now at this point. So super relaxed. I love the head position. He's blinking, he's chewing, he's got that hind leg cocked, he's got his neck's like lower than horizontal. He's super relaxed and doesn't mind me moving around and grooming different areas, moving that block around. I have my grooming bag out there. So just a lot of new stuff that I'm adding in, but he's handling it all well, and I've done it all systematically and in stages, so he's done really well. So now I can bring his tail to me and pick out the hay and the grasses and brush it a little bit, and this is all built up from protective contact. So I did all of this first in protective contact, and now he's built up to this where I can pull his tail over and brush it for a couple minutes. So I'm really happy with his progress. He looks great. So same thing with the other side, like next steps is building duration and getting rid of the mountain block. And he can be groomed, and then I'll add in like tying if I want to, or cross tying, or different locations are definitely something I need to start training too. And then I started off with that like little jelly scrubber curry comb, and then did the soft brush. And then we're gonna work on the feet a little bit more. So I've really focused a lot on his front feet. That looks really nice. His front feet need to be trimmed soon. His back feet aren't too bad. So I'm working more on those. And then I am going to work on the hind feet. And I always do the front feet first too. So that's another reason. But that looks fantastic. I love that. I like how he's just shifting his weight over. He's holding that up. That looks great. And he is transferring it pretty well to that other side, like from the left to the right or vice versa. So I really like that. I am going to probably do some desensitizing on its hind legs, but I want to have my main focus on those front legs. Really nice. I really like that. That's beautiful. So we're just increasing duration. So a couple seconds, click while the foot's up, put it down, feed. And sometimes you might have to have a helper if your horse is okay with that. So at this point, like he would be more worried than anything if I had someone else feeding him or someone else grabbing his feet. So I don't have one at this point, but they might benefit from having someone hand feeding them while their foot is up while you're working underneath them so they can kind of blend the two together. Sometimes I think the whole process is pick it up, hold it, and then push it down. So that might just help figure it out for the horse, make it really clear that you want that foot up and held, and that's what's being rewarded. So you might need a helper to do that too. Or maybe your horse is okay eating out of a hay net or a bucket or something like that. Right now, the Mustangs were not. They were more worried when their head was down in a bucket or a hay net. So that's why I've been doing it this way. So this way does work, but if you have confusion, those are some other different ways to do it. So I'm going to pop his halter on. He looks great haltering. I'm not haltering him with the rope attached yet. I'm going to start doing that soon, but I want to make sure he's totally comfortable with the rope, which I think he is, but he just has like, he's not completely trained, obviously. So I want to make sure that he's going to be good before I do that because I don't want it swinging around or getting his foot in it or anything like that. But I'm just going to run through some desensitizing that I do with him. So rope goes over. Once it's on him, I click, take it off, feed him his treat, and then I kind of do a little bit more. So once he's chewing and he's relaxed, like as long as he's cool, like I'll just wait to click him and give him another treat, or I might throw in some clicks there too, but I'll wait until he's done chewing to give him another treat. So I do stop and take the rope off and back up and retreat so he does get that release of pressure, but I don't want to fill his mouth with treats either because at this time he is eating like pieces of hay cubes, so it does take him a little bit to chew that up. So if I'm doing another like behavior that he needs a lot of reinforcement, I'll just switch my reinforcer or I'll break it into smaller pieces or something. But with this particular thing, he was okay with that, so that's what we're doing here. But this is where he's at with the rope. He's pretty cool with it. Atlas had a lot harder time. You'll see in his videos, I spent a lot more time with him on the rope because he was very, very afraid of it. Castor, not so much. He'd be like apprehensive at times, but overall not bad. So this is kind of the goal behavior for this. Is he stands still, he's nice and relaxed, he lets me toss the rope all over him both sides. So that's pretty much all I'll be doing with that with him. Like you'll see later on, he'll do some I'll do some desensitizing while he's moving, but I use the driving and lunge whips for that. But really, I like this. He's maybe a little bit tense here. He was flinching a little bit and his neck's a little bit high, but overall, not too bad. So he's moving quite right along.